Welcome to InvestorStream for the first time. Now, before we delve deeper into Lodestar's operations, the InvestorStream audience may be new to the Lodestar story. Can you give us a quick update on your asset position in WA and where's the opportunity for you?
Thanks, Alex. Yes, we recently completed the acquisition of Goldfellas, which has been a major step forward for us. The key assets of Goldfellas was a 20% interest in the Nepean nickel project. Nepean's been a stranded asset for a number of years, and we see great opportunity there on a number of fronts. As you know, it was an old mine or a historic mine which produced up until 1987, and it stopped production not because it ran out of ore, but primarily because the nickel price declined. There was an attempt to bring it back into production in 2007, and again that was thwarted through a decline in the nickel price. So what we are attracted to about Nepean is, one, there's a remnant resource there, near mine resource. Secondly, there's opportunities in a sort of brownfields exploration sense around the mine itself for it to extend the mineralisation. And thirdly, there's regional exploration potential along strike. So the project covers about 10 kilometres plus of strike, and there's been very little systematic exploration over that region. So there's great potential in Nepean, and it also changes, I guess, the risk profile of our asset base significantly, being something that could be brought into production relatively quickly if things go well. In addition to Nepean, Goldfellas introduced us to the Bulong Gold Project, which is 40 kilometres east of Kalgoorlie, again in a well-recognised and endowed gold district. And in addition to that, again, we've also acquired the Jubilee Well Gold Project in the Leverton Tectonic Zone, and that's provided. I mean, it's a district which has got incredible gold endowment, so we're very excited about being able to get out there and actually do some exploration in that kind of environment, and that broadens our asset base considerably in the eastern goldfields, which is in addition to our historic activities on the northern margin of the Yilgarn, where we have Camel Hills, Ned's Creek, and Imbin, and all those we've been active for a number of years. So these are fresh projects. They've changed the risk profile. And there are one, certainly Nepean's very active, and the others we're working towards getting active in the next few months.
Thanks, Bill. Now, our listeners may be aware, this week you signed a land access and mineral exploration agreement, which covers the greater part of Lodestar's Imbin Project within the highly prospective Earaheedy Province. It's quite a lucrative address, with Imbin approximately 70 kilometres from Rumble Resources' major zinc-lead discovery. From the early work you've done, is your team able to draw any comparisons to what they've discovered at Rumble?
Yeah, I think for us, it's a very exciting development in the Earaheedy. We've been interested in the area for a number of years. We had a low-profile presence out there for a number of years, and this year, obviously, things are going to change, and we actually get out there and do some physical work on the ground. But to me, it's indicating that the Earaheedy may be a major metallogenic province, and that is great. Significant for us. We've got a large land holding on the northern boundary of the Earaheedy Basin, and historically there's been quite a bit of work out there, which has indicated an extensive copper-gold anomaly extending along 20 kilometres of strike, parallel to the basin margin. And that work's been primarily around areas of outcrop. Intervening areas are covered in sand, so there's been essentially no exploration in those areas. So it gives us a large area to work with, which has had very little exploration coverage. And in that, the work that's been, the historic work that's been completed, there are a number of high-grade copper intersections in drilling, which indicate that there has certainly got potential for significant copper and gold, potentially zinc and lead in a slightly different environment. But where we're exploring is in the lower part of the Earaheedy Basin, and adjacent to that and immediately above it is the Frere unconformity, which has been targeted by Rumble with great success. And to my knowledge, in our area, that contact has not been targeted at all for base metal. So we've got about 20 kilometres of strike of that unconformity. So in a sense, it gives us two targets: one, our copper gold, which we're focusing on with our airborne EM, which is going to be completed in June, and secondly, the zinc lead related to the unconformity, which is slightly higher in the sequence, where we plan to do some soil geochemistry and probably covering initially about 10 kilometres of strike of that prospective unconformity. So the work that Rumble has done has been very illustrative to us in terms of what the potential might be in our project, and also potentially the scale of the type of discoveries that can be made in the Earaheedy.
Thanks, Bill. As you mentioned earlier, Lodestar recently acquired the Jubilee Well Gold Project, which sits 8 kilometres along strike from the 9 million ounce Sunrise Dam and 18 kilometres south of the 8 million ounce Granny Smith gold mine. How did this opportunity come about for you, and can you give us a rough timeline for exploration here?
Okay, well, it came about through the Goldfellas network. We were fortunate to be offered that tenement. Of course, we accepted it. And we've done a review of the historic exploration there, and our attention was drawn to an area which lies about less than 2 kilometres along strike from what is now going to be the Golden Delicious mine currently being developed by Anglo Gold. We know that there's some major structures going through there in the Leverton tectonic zone. It straddles basically the main structures between Sunrise Dam and Granny Smith. We looked at the historic data. We found a number of RC drill holes which had gold anomalies near the bottom of the hole, between 1 and 2 grams. Initially, this was drilled in 1996, and that's the last time that area was drilled. So it was drilled on a 200-metre line spacing, and we believe that it wasn't drilled, with enough density to actually define the extent of those anomalies. So we've designed a drilling program of about 14 RC holes, probably maximum, to target that zone along strike and down dip. So we plan to close up the drill spacing significantly, and we believe that the target is probably about between 80 and 90 metres below surface, so relatively accessible. We plan to drill that probably in July. We've just received POW approval for the drilling program. Just needed to complete some heritage surveys across the area, make sure that we comply with heritage requirements. And once that's completed, then we should be in a position to actually start drilling. So very exciting time for us. And that's just one part of that tenement. That's a small area on the eastern side. And the remainder to the west really is still open ground. And we require further work really to define more targets through there. But we'll take this one step at a time.
Lodestar's secured 20% interest in the Nepean nickel joint venture with Earaheedy Minerals. Can you talk us through the JV and how's it progressing from your perspective?
Very well from our perspective. They've got a flying start this year on a number of fronts. Initially, following up some high-grade nickel intersections, which were drilled by Focus, and completing a successful program south of the existing shaft. And again, repeating some high-grade shallow intersections of nickel sulfide there, which is very encouraging from that near-mine resource upgrade extension type scenario. And then they've completed regional exploration in terms of doing RC and air core drilling, and that was really to scope out the extent of some of these potential ultramafic units, what the composition of them might be, and what the potential for mineralization might be. So from the early results from that program, I think also very encouraging, having intersected nickel sulfides in a number of those holes and a number of downhole conductors as well, off-hole conductors, which remain to be tested. So the regional exploration at this stage of the exploration has been very successful in confirming that the entire stratigraphy is prospective. Earaheedy are now moving on to moving loop EM and completing high-powered EM across parts of that that ultramafic sequence. That's, an essential step in the exploration program. And that area, again, has never been tested with high-powered EM systems, which have been fundamentally important in defining and creating discovery opportunities in nickel sulfides within Western Australia in the last 20 years. So most of the discoveries have been related to the use of EM geophysics. So we are very encouraged by that, and that process is ongoing. And at an early stage in that program, they've identified a target which is currently being drilled. So that was a great start. And as that program is ongoing, we look forward to further developments and potentially definition of more drill targets as we go forward.
And finally, Bill, what are the near-term value drivers that we should be keeping an eye on over the next few months?
Okay, for us, initially, obviously there's ongoing work at Nepean, which is yielding good results and plenty of drill targets. So the immediate focus is on that, and that's going on continuously. Now we're getting active at Imbin for the first time, really, to get out there on the ground. So, as I said earlier, we're completing an 880 line kilometre airborne EM program in June. And the reason for that is really to look for massive sulfide conductors in that sedimentary sequence. We know there's conductive stratigraphy there, so any conductors we identify outside that conductive stratigraphy will be very important as drill targets. And effectively, we'll be getting out there as soon as possible to test those. There may be some intermediate steps in terms of doing more EM or geochemistry to refine those targets. But that's that's covering our 20 kilometres or more of strike in a phase 1 EM program. Pending good results, we need to get out there and do more EM because we only covered part of that area. And in addition to that, the first pass geochemistry we plan to do over the fair unconformity will also be very interesting in terms of what it yields in terms of lead and zinc potential along that contact. So Imbin is on the front burner. Ned's Creek, we're currently planning the next program for the program for the next 12 months with our JV partner there, Vanguard Mining, and that work is underway. So we expect that we'll be drilling in and around our gold mineralisation on the contested granite and looking at regional targets further afield, regional targets of scale, which we've identified in the years that we've been working there, also to be tested for the first time in the next 12 months. So once we get drilling there, it'll be quite an active program as well, and lots to look forward to. And our other project at Camel Hills, we're planning to do some more surface geochemistry, looking at the strike extension of the magnetic contact northeast of the Big Sky gold discovery, which is essentially another area which has had no work done on it and is under shallow cover. So again, depending on those results, more drilling coming up at Camel Hills in the near future. I was going to say, in terms of Boolong and Jubilee well projects, we're now waiting on heritage clearances for both those projects. Once that's forthcoming, we'll again be looking to drill those as soon as possible. So again, in the next month or two, hopefully we'll get those clearances underway and be cleared to commence our drilling program. So the second half of the year for Lodestar is going to be very active.
Wonderful, Bill. Thanks very much for your time today, and we look forward to tracking your progress over the coming months. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Alex.